great. So I'm also just going to revert the screen. Perfect. Now, one thing I'm not sure is, hello, I was like, online, so I don't think we can, like, we won't see people join, but people will be here.
Right.
Really?
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Everyone joining, I think we'll probably give it about 5 minutes, and then Laura will sort of kick it off to you. But I think it might take a few people a little while just to join on. Did many of you get to catch the Circle Day recordings? I know they were at a very inconvenient time.
The 1 a.m.
Yeah, not the best.
I wanted to, I had planned to, but I was just like, Laura will do a good recap for us.
You're really holding down the team for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I think New Zealand, cool.
Yeah, so we've got Australia and New Zealand, and then I think there might be some other people perhaps in similar time zones that might be joining as well, which is exciting. I think also we had the most amount of signups for our Australian Circle event versus all of the other markets. I think almost double most of the others, which is really exciting.
Probably because of the midnight thing, yeah.
Yes, that's actually a very good point. All right, cool. We might give it maybe one more minute, and then Laura, I might kick it over to you. Yeah, Laura, actually, you might be able to answer that question from Greg. Recordings, are they available for sessions? I know you looked at.
Sorry, what was that?
You have been looking at a few of the recordings. There's some of them.
So they're not all there. There's about probably 30% that I couldn't find. They're not recorded. So there was an online stage and then a live stage. And there are probably 5 or 6 presentations that didn't seem to be there. So I don't know whether they were perhaps breakout rooms or workshops or something that were perhaps recorded separately. So I think Squarespace said there would be some that would be provided in the coming weeks. So
yeah, perfect. We could probably kick it off. I imagine everyone else will sort of just join us as they sign on and figure out the world of hopping. Yeah, awesome. Laura, I might just hand it over to you. Did you want to run through, essentially like overview and everything, and people can probably just jump on once they've joined.
Yeah. So we're going to go live now?
We are.
Oh, we are live. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. You can't see people's faces when they join. But we've got like lots of active chats, which is great.
Fantastic. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining the Australia and New Zealand Circle Day Meetup. I'm going to kick off the day with a bit of a summary of some of the amazing presentations from last week's event in New York. There were some live ones, there were some virtual ones, and I definitely recommend you check them all out. So I'm going to open a slideshow in a minute, turn my video off right now, and I will start that. Let me know if you can see my screen.
I think it's just loading.
Just loading. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes, that's perfect.
Fantastic. All right, getting started. We're going to just start with a bit of an overview of the rundown of today. So the whole event will go for about 2 hours. We've got some fantastic speakers lined up. There'll be time for a break. Then we're going to all reconvene in breakout rooms, and we've got some fantastic discussions. You can give feedback on the platform, which will be sent back to Squarespace, and time to just connect with some other people who do similar things to you. So getting started, our panel of speakers for today. So initially, I'm going to do a bit of a recap of the presentation from Circle Day. Then we've got Meirav doing a presentation on the art of long-term client relationships. Then we'll have a little break. Then we've got Josh from Societal doing a presentation on Form Reflects Purpose, followed by Tess doing a presentation on self-promotion without social media. Then we'll do some breakout rooms, and hopefully we'll finish on time at 2 o'clock. So a bit of an introduction to myself. I am a Squarespace web designer. I have been running my agency Hatch Labs since 2014. I come from a content background and user experience background. So I build content-focused, user-led websites. I'm heavily involved in the Squarespace Circle community. And offline, I hang out with my kids. I play the banjo very badly, and I drink way too much coffee. So moving on to the important bit, the Circle Day recap. So it was held last week. I've got a link here for anybody who hasn't caught up with any events yet. You can click on that link and access most of the speeches from the day. There will be some more released by Squarespace in the coming weeks. And moving on to the presentation. So the day kicked off with a fantastic keynote speech from the Senior Group Product Manager, Jeff Aldrich, and the Product Director, Tim Miller. Now, the one really exciting release that was announced was a migration tool from 7.0 to 7.1, which I imagine most of you are going to be really, really excited about. Now, very few details were offered. I think they're still ironing out a few bugs, but that should be launched pretty soon. So I imagine that's going to be fantastic for a lot of your clients. They went over some of the recent releases, which have been quite exciting, the AI writing tool, the course builder, and they spent a lot of time also thanking the Circle community for their continued feedback, which they really wanted to reiterate has really helped them refine a lot of their recent product launches. One of the next presentations, which I really recommend you catch up on, was a Q&A session with the Squarespace CEO and founder, Anthony Casalina. Well worth catching up on. He just shared some of his history, went into what inspires him every day, why he started Squarespace. It's well worth catching up on. All right, so probably my favourite presentation from Circle Day was a group discussion with 4 different template creators. Now, I'm not sure how many of you use Square Kicker. If you don't already, it's an incredible plugin which allows you to really push the boundaries of Squarespace without having to use code. Now, they've actually just announced the launch of an incredible, and I'll just move forward to this, Square Kicker template marketplace. So this is going to be a huge game changer for anybody who does create templates or perhaps wants to create templates. It's a studio and it's a marketplace. So it allows you to create amazing looking templates and then sell them without the hassle of having to deal with site duplications, customer inquiries, code updates. They handle all that for you. So they do have a wait list that's open at the moment. And I think they're going to be launching the beta of this new service in January. So if anyone's interested in selling templates, even if you've just thought about it and thought that it maybe isn't worth the hassle of having to deal with customers all the time, this could be a really great way of getting into it. Promise and Monica are two other great template creators. They gave a few tips on how to set yourself up as a template creator. They focused on finding your niche, starting small. You don't need to launch with 12 templates, and really find your style and make sure that the content placement is easy enough that people who buy the template can just logically add their content and go. They don't want to have to think about it. Really highly recommend. This was probably one of the standout presentations of the day. You should probably catch up on that if you've got time. The next amazing presentation was from Rach DeLuna of Square Stylist. She creates an incredible set of plugins which really push the boundaries of Squarespace. She also runs an incredible course that teaches you how to manipulate Squarespace using code, custom CSS code and JavaScript. She doesn't just provide snippets of code, she teaches you how to write it. So if anyone's interested in really pushing the boundaries of Squarespace, I really recommend checking her out. She gave a bit of a presentation on how her approach works, how she tries to work within the confines of Squarespace wherever possible using inbuilt features, and how to push the boundaries a little bit with CSS and JavaScript. She walks through a fantastic tutorial, which is made available to everybody. It comes with downloadable files and images and allows you to try some of the techniques that would be taught in her course. So I can highly recommend looking at that presentation and downloading that content. There was another great presentation from the team at Human Studio, a fantastic web design studio. They basically shared their UI toolkit, all of the amazing products that they use to help develop their web designs. So they went through a list of great tools you can use to develop cohesive color schemes, accessible color schemes, how they help select font styles that go well with their client sites, and where to go for site inspiration. So Landbook is a great resource, which I use a lot. I'm not sure if anybody's seen it before, but it's a really fantastic source of inspiration when you just need to get started on a project. Then we had a fantastic presentation from Clary Johnson of Tap That Digital. She's an expert in trying to create recurring revenue from clients. So to build not just a solution that offers people sort of one step, but a solution that continues to engage clients so that they become part of a community. So she teaches you how to create a 360-degree marketing campaign, and she gives you a really clear process on how to attract an audience via downloads or content, how to engage them via courses, and how to retain them via community. And she gives a really great example of how she did that for a client. So it's worth watching if you want to implement that with some of your clients. The amazing Christy Price did a presentation on offboarding clients. I know I find that challenging sometimes in terms of setting boundaries with clients. And she walked through a really great process of all the steps she takes to make that as seamless as possible. Just to give a bit of a recap of some of the advice she gave. The first was to create a sandbox, which is basically a page on the site that's password protected, can't be seen by Google, where clients can have a play around with their new site and not mess anything up. She emphasized disabling headers and footers on that page so people really can't break anything on their live site. She went through the post-launch resources that she provides. Basically, she creates a fantastic help page which contains a huge range of information on it. What did she say was on there? She provides all of the client documents. She provides a style guide. She provides walkthrough videos. She provides links for common problems and a link to book a paid call with her along with a coupon code. The point of that page really is to try and get clients to help themselves in the first instance before they reach out to you for help. because I know a lot of my time is taken up fielding client calls for really, really simple issues. Reinforce boundaries, tell them what they're going to get, how long you help them for, and when they're on their own or need to come to you and pay for extra help. The importance of collecting feedback was another one, and the process she takes to use that feedback to improve her processes. Connie Holan of Pixelity Design did a great presentation on niching down, so finding your special space and being the expert in that. So she focuses on fitness websites, and then by the sounds of it, she's the go-to person in a lot of the states for that. So she was talking about how to find your niche, the benefits of that being that you can charge more, you can market more easily, you create efficiencies within your business, and you can increase profits. She walked through how to do that, how to decide on a niche, how to build a portfolio that reflects that niche, how to develop niche-specific content, how to collaborate with industry partners, and then how to leverage referrals and testimonials. This was another presentation which I really enjoyed. I'm all over AI. I use an awful lot for content and for image generation. So this was one of my favorite presentations. And so Dennis from Win-Win Strategy was talking about some of the strategies that they use to improve the marketing and efficiency of their agency. So he went through some pretty amazing figures, and he suggested that using AI tools could improve revenue growth by 41% in a lot of cases. He suggested a really, really good tool called there's an AI for that.com, which is basically a repository of all the AI tools that exist. It's really easy to search. You can go and you can say, I need AI for image generation, or I need AI for content generation, and it will come up with a huge list of pretty much every AI tool that exists out there. Well worth checking out. Laura Coutts from the 24 Hours site did a really interesting presentation on building brand stories for clients. She went into the art of storytelling, basically making the customer the center of a story and really engaging them with the content on the website. I know that content is one of the hardest components of a site sometimes, particularly for business owners. How to get the right content from clients, how to extract the information you need. And a very short but great presentation on how to charge a premium for your offering. So Victoria of Brandwell Designs talked about how she used to charge a lot less for her sites. She looked at some traditional methods to start charging more. The first was to improve the product. She said that you hit a certain point where you can't improve your product more and you're just getting burnt out. You can't improve your customer experience anymore because you're firing on all cylinders, and as small business owners, we simply don't have time to do that. So she talked about the importance of brand positioning. So to level yourself up from a regular web developer to a premium web developer, she emphasized the importance of finding a niche. She talked about the importance then of just having to do things better than the competition. Well worth checking out. Alyssa Phillips of AMP Designs also did a great presentation on keeping client timelines on track. I found this one really, really useful. I know that my client deadlines often blow out because mainly people find it really difficult to get content to me. She went through, it was mainly the setup of a project. So the processes and policies that you put in place that will make sure your clients get content to you on time. I guess some of the key takeaways from that presentation were to put client deadlines in the contract proposal or quote, to really clearly outline what happens if that deadline is missed. Include a dormancy clause. So say, if this project goes dead for a few months, I will start it again, but there may be a fee and you may have to wait until I've got time again, and make that really clear from the outset. And the importance of reminding them when deadlines are approaching. So don't spring anything on them at the last minute and say, hey, your content was due today, where is it? Set reminders and make it very clear in the months or weeks leading up to that deadline is approaching. Some other great speakers. Some of these are not available yet. Some were on selling acuity scheduling, how to monetize memberships. That's one I really want to see. Empowering clients with e-commerce essentials, how to embrace outsourcing. I'm sure that's something that a lot of people in this presentation would love to do. Using client energy for intuitive design, stop trading time for money, and a presentation on whether social media is really worth it. So that's the summary in a nutshell. Let me just get off this again and stop sharing my screen. And start camera. There we go. So that's everything in a nutshell. So if anybody has any questions, they're welcome to pop them in the comments. Otherwise, we can perhaps move on to our next speaker. That's a presentation from Meirav of Webby Web Design on the art of long-term client relationships.
Thank you, Laura. That was great. Just share my screen. Give me a sec. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Yeah. So my name is Meirav, and from Webby Web Design, and I'm a Squarespace web developer. I've been started my business in 2007, so I've been doing this for quite a while. Starting with just custom HTML websites, and then I moved to Squarespace, I think around 2015, and didn't look back. So today I'm going to talk about the art of client relationship, of keeping your clients beyond website launch. So I'm very, this is something that's very important for me, and I have worked with clients since the beginning, sometimes even 3 or 4 websites already, either different businesses or the same business, and they're always also there to me. So I think having that relationship with clients is super important, because they will bring more work for you from their connections and also from their business. So I just wanted to share what I do, a few steps that I take, and what I do, and how I how I work with my clients past website launch. So the first thing I do when I launch a website, and that's the slide you're seeing now, I actually send them a card to say, congratulations, your website is launched. It's a very exciting moment for many of my clients, especially if they're startups. So I want to make it personal. This is actually a physical card, and I use a platform called Send Out Cards, and I put a screenshot of their website and send it to them and just say, thank you for your support and good luck with your website. And that's sort of a personal touch in what I do. Then I have a one-on-one training session with all my clients. So Laura talked about from the circle there about having slides and sandbox, and what I do is a personal one-on-one training session. I don't force it on my clients, only if they want to, and probably 50% want to do a training session. And that's sort of the second step of a relationship. It's making sure they're happy with their website and teaching them how to take ownership and how to update, and they feel very confident after that. So I actually don't get all these calls after. I usually have people managing the website pretty well, because I teach them especially the items that they will need to look at. I also invite them to, and this is my second slide, I invite them to I've set up a private Facebook group for only my clients. I only can post in this Facebook group, and what I do is, and not all of them are on it, but probably 50%. So if there is new features for Squarespace, I don't expect them to know everything. So when I get the emails, I'll put it on the group saying, oh, this new feature is now available on the form, or things like that. Also, if Squarespace is down, if I know that then something's happened, then I'll put it on the group and I keep them updated. So that's a little thing I like to do. And I send an email probably 4 times a year. So that's everyone is added to my news sort of email. And what I do is I share tips, and again, latest releases or updates and tips about helping them with a website, SEO, blogging, things like that. And then the last thing I do, which I actually started last year, and this is, I call it co-working days. So this is some pictures from the last one we had. So what I do is I found many of my clients came and said, we know how to update the website. We just don't have time to do it. And some things we're not confident with. So I started once a month. I do a co-working day. I call it spend a day with your website and give it some love. And I only invite my clients that had training. So if you haven't had training or you've never touched your website, you can't attend. It's a small group of up to 7. And what we do is the first hour, I'll present usually the different topics. So last time we talked about the online forms and how you can now go to the backend and see your form entries and some new features. So everyone was really excited about it. Then we have some open discussion. We might have, people talk about SEO, brainstorming, Google, anything like that. And then there is quiet co-working. So 2 or 3 hours, and I go in a room. If anyone has a question, I help them. So my customers pay for this session. So it's it's another revenue generation of, and everyone's like said to me, we want to come again. I had people come every month, because they feel like this is the day they can work on their website. They feel confident that I'm there, and also seeing other people with Squarespace websites. So it's only for Squarespace. So, so this is the main. This has been a good hit. So I'm going to continue with that. And that's it. I have clients that would just contact me for updates. One of the most important things for me is to be really responsive, because a lot of clients that have come to me have said, oh, my old web designer never replies to me. Once we launch the website, they don't want to fix anything. So this is something as well that I really look after. I always attend to my clients' emails, quite quickly, give them priority, so they're happy. And that's it. Again, if anyone has questions, you can put it in the chat, or we can talk in the breakout room later. But I hope you benefit from these tips. And I think Josh is next, or I can't remember.
Am I next, Laura? Just grab up hi everybody. Thanks for that, Meirav. That was great. I think that doing those regular sort of day meetups to go through your website and give it some love, I think that's awesome. Just for keeping that the relationship going. I think that's I'm gonna probably do that next month. I think. I'm just getting my presentation up. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today, especially fellow Squarespace designers. Thanks, Alex and the team, for giving us the chance to talk. When I saw that I had 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes to talk, I was like, oh, okay, what can I sort of pack into that time? There's so much that you can talk about, but I thought that I'm a bit of a practical minded person. So I was thinking, what is something practical that we do at our agency that you guys can potentially implement into your business? Yeah, just like have some kind of real impact on your income. So today I'm going to be talking about this concept around slowing a process down, which doesn't seem like what you would probably want to do in a process. You want to make things as streamlined as possible, but this conversation started, and this idea or topic started when I was in a meeting the other day with a client who has a bar that we're doing some design work for, and the question came up, guys, our tables are actually pretty full, but how can we lift the spend per head? Now, brand perceptions for that bar are actually quite high, and they're priced really on par with what's deemed accessible or acceptable. So we were kind of in this tough situation, but what we ended up doing was actually suggesting something one of our other clients does, and it's to start with a round of drinks, and before you've even taken a food order, you wait for them to finish that first round of drinks. And so it's like it's this principle of slowing down a process by just adding in a little extra step, and it's that small action that turns food and drinks into drinks, food and drinks. So it's like this additional little step in the process that has a significant impact on their business. And I think taking a step back, there's two situations that I want to talk to today in regards to Squarespace development. And it's these two categories or two situations of people. The first situation is we have clients that pretty regularly want and sometimes need a large, substantial website that they know and we know it's going to take a lot of time. Like sometimes it's like a year or more, and it's going to be pretty complex for them. The second situation is when a client doesn't even see a real need for a website yet. And so we've got really two sort of ends to the spectrum going on. And over the past 6 years, we've worked on our studio's responses to these two very different situations. And if you want a takeaway line for your response to either of these situations, it could be this, and this is what we use all the time. I think a simple phase one website might be the best solution for you just in the interim. I think a simple phase one, we use the wording phase one, you can make it your own, but this to us is just, it's just a temporary thing. It's just an easy step. So to the client that needs a large website, that'll take months and months, and this is just a low budget, very feasible way to hold an online brand presence. It doesn't seem daunting. It might not have even entered into their mind that they don't need to leap straight into a fully fledged website yet, and they can start nice and quick and simple and just take their time to do it right. They always have that wording that they're like, yeah, we've got some time, but we just want to do it right. And then you've got, like, on the opposite side of the spectrum, for the smaller project where the person doesn't really even see a need for a website yet, you've just got this really feasible, low risk way to just introduce them to how a simple website could impact their business while they build. So it's just adding in that little additional step in the middle. It's like a little midway station. I never like to waste a person's time and money, so adding in a step, an additional step, sounds nice in theory, and it's great for a design studio's revenue, but it actually still totally needs to make total business sense. The principle behind how I approach that is purpose. If you can articulate a clear purpose to how it builds their business, then you're really winning. I do have a few clients that we've previously added in that extra step of a simple phase 1 website. I'll go through a few in a minute. But first, I just wanted to cover how to approach purpose and practically how to lock in that phase 1 interim website. So first step, you've just got to identify what your client goals are and map that out in a bit of a timeline of events that get them there. Is it launching a new product line? If it's that, an example would be start with the brand, do the style guide, the packaging and the photography. So, at least at very least, you've got the products and material to promote them. And then when they know that they need a 20K e-com site, like a fully fledged e-com site, ask them what their strategy to launch to market is. Are they just going through socials, or are they pitching to wholesale suppliers? Work out how they're going to approach that. If they're only using socials, then a phase 1 website, for example, might just have a simple function to just tell their story, just document their journey, or communicate the heart and the values of the brand, and give a platform to the why behind the products. It doesn't yet need to be a full site. It can just have a really defined, focused purpose to it. If they're on another if they're taking another approach, like maybe they're pitching to wholesale suppliers first, the new website might to them be launching in a year's time, but a phase 1 website, or that like interim step website, could just simply establish an online presence, provide a space for pre or post pitch meeting research, so a person can sort of like see who they are, and before the meeting or after the meeting, just see what's going on a little bit more. Or just, you could just showcase how you value and champion the suppliers you are currently working with. So essentially, we're mapping out the user journey of the target audience by firstly asking the root question: what does a person need to see, hear, learn, or feel in order to do and share? And then following on from there, what simple role could their online presence have in that journey while we wait for the larger rollout? There's been a rapid evolution in the web industry that, whether they're aware of it or not, many people still have this idea that building websites is a really long, drawn out and painful, complicated experience. And it used to be that, like, when it was super complicated, you had really highly specialized people actioning specific components, like your back end, your front end, software engineers. And that actually did come with a cost. So the importance to get it right and go hard at the start and get it right, that was really important, because your next website was at least 6 years away. So you had to really nail it pretty hard. There obviously is still a lot of websites that are of that caliber, but there's an overwhelming increase in the simpler, less complicated nature of websites. We don't need big things anymore. We can execute really feasible, simple, focused, purpose-filled websites. most of our clients, they don't even consider a website to be a pain-free, enjoyable asset that you can create and launch in a matter of days. But when you really understand that and understand what it can do and what that can be, your clients' options for online experiences, big or small, start opening up drastically. You might not need a complete e-commerce site yet. You might not need a comprehensive back-end intranet portal yet. And I think that is the space that a phase one interim website operates in. It's introducing the word yet to the conversation and to the process. And it uses the speed and ease of modern day web creation on Squarespace to really just runway, like a gentle runway towards their future projects. I think it's also, if you're introducing a phase one website that is differentiated from their future website, it's really important that you define the scope. And so a critical skill of a web agency is providing clarity around a project's scope and knowing when that scope has actually changed. I say this because if you can first articulate the scope and requirements of the main website, the future phase two, let's call it phase two website, it'll ensure that the phase one project scope is really clearly separate and differentiated. So you may well find that phase two's website isn't too dissimilar from phase one. But it's just important that you communicate that user goals, scope, content structure, overall strategy, they need to be reevaluated before phase two development starts. So there's an end to one, there's a start to another. Gray zones in scope and projects are where your margins go missing. The client just needs to know that if the user goals change, the scope changes. It's just a really clear distinction that you have to make for them. One of our clients, I'm going to jump into some case studies of times that we've added in like an interim step. One of our clients, thankfully nourished, was redeveloping their e-com site, and they were at that time working with the second web agency in that process. So it was actually really dragging out pretty hard, and they had a large convention starting in 3 weeks' time, and their new website wasn't ready to go live. So they were getting actually pretty stressed. We jumped on a call and she explains, the value of even just getting one new supplier or a distributor that they'd meet at this event, at this convention. It just has like such a massive impact on their business. And so it was at that point in the conversation that I'm like, okay, I see that you've got a e-com site that is large and very complex. That's coming. How about we just do an interim phase one website that we can just execute really quickly? She freaking loved the idea. And we had that website up in 3 days. So she, after that convention, she locked in 2 of her biggest distributors within a month of that event. And, I'm sure the full e-com site is going to be incredible when it launches, but just that simple extra step in the process had a really significant impact on her business. And I think it's like the main benefit of how easy web development is with platforms like Squarespace now is that we can just execute these things like super quick, super easy. It's really powerful. I've got another client called Development Exchange. who kind of sort out the finance for developments, big and small. They target on one side really wealthy retirees, and on the other side, really large developers. So mapping out their user journeys, the developers, they weren't really going to the website to learn about the company or build a relationship, because that was all relational and network based. But it was the other side, the retirees. They're just like information hungry boomers that just wanted to do all their research before they said hi. So instead of splitting the two user goals across two completely different target demographics to achieve a really watered down result, we just doubled down on the old timers. Pretty much just gave them a site that nicely formats a myriad of text and information. And when a new development is in the works, we actually just create a whole new complete new brand for that little development that's happening, and it has its own website. So it's like, I don't know, get in with developers. It's sick. The main website is now way more effective with its simpler purpose, and the microsites prevent the user goals from getting too fragmented. Now I'm sure that the future website for Development Exchange is going to have like a bank of knowledge, a database of current developments, customer onboarding, etc. But for now, we're just moving the bottom line of the business with a simple interim phase 1 site. There's another client. We had a client launching a new spirits product. I talked about it at Semi-Permanent a couple of months ago, called Hoju Soju, and that translates in Korean to Aussie Soju. We did their branding, their packaging, wholesale pitch deck, social strategy, and heaps of other things. And when they said that they were going to wait a year to get onto the website, we suggested, let's just do like an interim phase 1 website for you. It didn't need to be massive, but we honed in on what the user goals would be while they pitch the product to suppliers and stockists in that space before they're ready for doing a full e-com site. But they're building momentum, they're building the brand. And those user goals centered around championing the suppliers and brand managers that they work with, and also giving Aussies a framework to understand what soju even is and how they can use it. So on the website, we've got like different cocktails that you can use. So an Australian can go, oh, right, okay, you can treat soju like a gin or a vodka. The website really just works as like an extension of the brand beyond the pitch meetings that they're in, and holds this kind of beautiful branded online presence while they're building the momentum. People can actually order online from the website. It's not where the entire focus is. That's a phase 2 website, and they know that. But even the orders, like the simple orders from the current website, are generating a lot of income, which is awesome for them. The system has worked. Like, they're now stocked in all the local Dan Murphy's, Red Bottles, all the best bars and restaurants in our area. And that's given them the best foundation for building the business. Just a simple additional step in their process is just making a massive impact. Now, I know that, the future website, the end goal might well be great and large and comprehensive. And we do build large websites on Squarespace. But while they're, before they're ready to make that leap and make that large investment, sometimes it's good to just slow down the process, add in a little extra step. It's just like a little interim step, that a little interim website that you can just execute really quickly and easily. And yeah, like good things take time. So we just want to give them a nice little solution that gives them the time to prepare and get ready for that big one. So I just wanted to be, give you like that little resource is like how we approach. If you're not ready for something massive, let's just do like a phase one. If you don't think you need one, let's just do a semi one. And it's great for our income. Just be confident to slow down the grand timeline with an extra step. Just keep it justified with purpose and focused on, just moving their business onward and upward one bit at a time. And that is all I had to sort of talk. I just wanted to give you a little takeaway from how our business is going. Did anybody, were we going to do some questions, or are we going to put it over to Tess? I can't hear you, Alex.
Maybe putting myself on mute might help. Question from Liz. Josh, do you approach clients that you have created websites for in the past and offer to give them a website refresh? If so, how do you convince them that they need it?
100%. I'll approach people again that I've worked with. I think that a primary question that you need to ask is their current website reflecting their brand accurately? Of where is their current web presence an accurate reflection of who they are in today? If it's a website that I've done before, I really try to avoid let's just make some tweaks and changes. I try and establish what their vision for the business is currently and over the next 5 years, because I don't want to make band-aid fixes. I want to position them and set them up for the next 5 years at least. So yeah, like all our clients, we work with them on an ongoing basis, and you should be having that conversation. I've got a bar that we did, and they work with their target dem are 23 to 35-year-old women who are always wanting something new. So after 2 years, I was like, we built their website on Squarespace to start with. I was like, guys, your website, it's great. Let's do a different one. We did it again on Squarespace, just revamped, and they freaking love it. We've now done 4 websites for them, all on Squarespace over the last 6 years. So yeah, I love to do that. How do I convince them? Everybody's gonna have their own reasons why they need a new website, and you just got to tap into what their core reason is. So for that business, it's their target demographics demand. They want change. If it's an existing client that might be like DevX or someone in the service-based industry, you talk to them about, are you getting results? Let's have a look at your analytics. Let's dig into how your site is actually performing. And if it's not performing properly, then let's reevaluate, because you're not starting from square one when you redevelop a website. You're actually coming into round 2 way more upskilled and more aware and more equipped. So yeah, just work out what their core reason is and just tap into that. Do as much listening as you can and use their words against them.
Thanks, Josh. I think we've got just one more question from Laura. Laura, I'll just sound it out because I'm already on the screen. So similar to that, do most clients end up moving onto phase 2 websites, or do you need to nudge them along? Also, do you generally expand the phase 1 website, or do you start new?
Yeah, so I'll start with actually the expanding the phase 1 website. Whilst it is like an interim step and it's simple and it's focused and it's not completely fully fledged, still define the scope of the website. Have a really strict scope of the website. Adding in and bolting on things can interrupt and disrupt the user experience. So you have to really reevaluate. There is a really defined step that you have to add in there to pause the project or pause the progress of where the website is at, and put your strategic head on. Clients love it when you just can stop them. It positions you as a strategic partner as well. And so if the scope of the website is changing, then the user goals are building. And when the user goals change, the scope changes, start again. You might not need to change all the design, but structure-wise and making any tweaks and changes. Also, you can be looking at what content is working well, because you can start working with the analytics that you've got from the current phase 1. So yeah, you're not starting from square one. Nudging them along is a process of relationships. So whether they use you for phase 2 or whether they use someone else for phase 2, so sometimes it's out of your skill capability. Like I've got clients that they need wholesale login, they need retail login, they have supplier login, and everybody's seeing different content on their website. There are things that are out of the scope of what I actually want to work with. But if I know that I can build that larger website, just tell them. Yeah, I mean, like if there's opportunity for them to build an online presence and scale up their work there, then that's what I want for them. If they're building, I'm growing as well. So the onus is on us to sort of push them along. Was there anything else? Any other questions or?
Looks like I'm up. That was awesome, Josh.
Take it away, Tess.
All right. Okay, now let me get my streaming situation, my presentation going. 1 second. All right, let's see if we can see what I'm doing here. All right. Hi, everyone. This has been so awesome so far. Thank you, Alex and Squarespace, for inviting me to chat today. I am going to be talking today a little bit about self-promotion without social media. So how we as Squarespace designers can really start to attract the types of ideal clients and customers that we want to be working with, and just generally increase our visibility so that we have nice, sustainable businesses and we can keep going in this, working with this lovely platform. So a little bit of background. I have been working as a designer for almost 2 decades, and I work across graphic design, book design, and web design. So I'm a little bit of a generalist, but I also specialize quite a bit as well. The types of clients that I generally work with are small businesses, solo operators, people starting, a side hustle, for lack of a better term. I work with a lot of authors, for example, who have books that they want a website for, but I also might do their book design as well. So I have a few skills, and funnily enough, book design and website design have a lot more similarities than you might think. In terms of working with Squarespace, I started using Squarespace for client projects in probably 2014, but I really started to hone in on it and promote myself as someone who works with Squarespace in 2020. And whilst I do a couple of projects now and again in Shopify when the client's business calls for it, I'm sure anyone who has worked with Shopify before, as well as Squarespace, will understand when I say that you really start to really love the benefits of the single theme and everything kind of being in-house in Squarespace. So where possible, probably 70% of my websites are on the Squarespace platform. And truthfully, I'm sure many of you will agree, the things that I love about the platform is really the community that's around it. So it's very collegial. There's so many great educators and Squarespace Circle experts out there sharing code and tutorials and tips and checklists, not just to build a really beautiful website, but also to run a business with building Squarespace websites as its platform. So really that's kind of a background to what I do for clients. I also have, I guess, a little kind of side hustle of my own. I run I call it a publishing tiny house because it's just me, creating books and resources and co-creating with other authors, things for creative professionals like you and me, to run our businesses effectively and to market our businesses effectively. It's called Creative Minds, and you can visit the website there. It's really just my platform to share resources that I have developed or that I have found, and for other self-employed people to help streamline their business, market it more effectively. So going on from that, I've just actually released a new book, and it's kind of links in with the title of the talk today. It's called Self-Promotion Without Social Media. And this was a book that I developed through a lot of conversations with my clients. So as you would know, when you're building a website for someone, you're also talking about their overall business marketing strategy. So are they going to send out an e-newsletter? Are they have a social media campaign? Are they really not the kind of person who wants to use social media a lot? And what kind of other options are there for getting their business and their names out there? So I also started to, in promoting my own business, think about, well, what else can I do than just create lots of social media content? Because I just didn't really gel with me to be on social media every day and, creating all of this ephemeral stuff that just went out into the world and disappeared sometimes after 24 hours. And what I really, really like in terms of business resources for myself is an element of not just tell, but sort of help me to do it as well. So I love checklists. I love workbook elements, something that gets me thinking and offers me some guidance. So I developed this book, which is kind of part workbook. It's full of checklists, and it's got lots of really practical tips and ideas about some things that you can do to promote yourself, your work off social media, or without relying on social media solely to put yourself in front of your ideal customers and clients. So what I thought I'd do today is just share a couple of activities that I talk about in the book, some strategies. And I will note that I don't talk about having a great website and making it SEO optimized, because we all know that's something that we should be doing. So these things are going to be stuff outside of having a great website. And yeah, let's get into it. So of course, one of the most powerful ways, I think, to sell yourself and get people to really get a sense of who you are and what you like to work with is to have other people sell you for you. We all know that people who read reviews are often quite far down in our buyer cycle, so they're really ready to get in touch. And the reviews and testimonials that you gather for your business and what it's like to work with you, they can really go a long way into helping people get to know you a bit better, find out what problems you can solve for them, and ultimately to trust you as a service provider. As soon as I started to really gather testimonials and reviews from all my clients for the projects that I was doing with them, I really noticed an uptick in the number of inquiries I was getting. So I was displaying those reviews and testimonials on my website, but I also tried to put them in other places that clients and customers would potentially find me. So Google, LinkedIn, and also Facebook. So one of the things that I've noticed that some creatives and self-employed people who are perhaps on the introverted side really struggle with that ultimate ask of, we've worked together, can you send me a review or a testimonial that I can use on my website? And I definitely suffer from that myself sometimes. And some things that have really helped me is to have a templated email. So it's something that I integrate as part of my client offboarding, or at least sort of project summary process, sending out an invoice, for example, and then sending this templated email, which asks the client, hey, I think we've created something really beautiful together. I hope you agree. Reviews are really important to my business. And it would be amazing if, you could, put together some words that I can use as a testimonial on my website. I do kind of add a little sweetener to the deal, saying, if I add this project to my website, I can have a link to your website, which will help with your SEO as well, which people are often interested in, especially if it's a brand new site. But I also suggest some things that they could potentially include in their review of my work. So, why did you choose me over other providers? What did I specifically help you with? Things like that. So ultimately, their review becomes really informational in terms of what people are going to find out about working with you by reading that review. So that's just like a quick couple of clicks to send off that email. And then I don't have to think about, getting nervous to press send for asking for that review. And then it usually just comes back and it's lovely and 5 stars and glowing. So definitely reviews are a huge way that you can self-promote without social media. Okay, number 2, being visible amongst your peers. So this is a really interesting one. I think about, groups like this where we're all, Squarespace designers, less of as competition and more like collaboration. And across my career, I think I've noticed time and time again how being visible amongst fellow designers, people who work in the same space as you, can lead to projects, referrals, as well as just general business support. I think it's especially important if you're just starting out in the space. If you can get, overflow work from fellow designers or white label work, that's a really great way to start building up your skills, your speed, and learning some of your processes from working with other designers who are perhaps at a bit less of an emerging stage. They're quite established. So another kind of area, I think, is if you specialize in one kind of aspect or for one kind of client with your web design projects, that's fantastic, but it might not give you a full slate of projects across, for example, any given business year. And so you can start to fill in some gaps with projects where you are working, it's not something that you'll put in your portfolio, but you're doing other projects via other people and white labeling in that way. It kind of makes an element of a business a little bit more sustainable when you've got a bread and butter thing where you're sort of working as a freelancer, potentially for another agency, and then you're also able to build up your stable of clients. Another thing that I've really noticed is as much as I'm in the Squarespace world all the time and listening to and talking to other Squarespace designers, there are a lot of other designers out there who only work on WordPress or only work on Shopify. And when they have clients who are really interested in working on Squarespace because it's such a user-friendly platform and quite quick to deal with and not as open to kind of spammy, hacky kind of things like some other certain platforms, I've noticed they wash their hands of it and they say, well, I don't do Squarespace, so sorry. But promoting yourself amongst other web designers to say, hey, I actually specialize in Squarespace, or I really love it, or I know that platform like the back of my hand. If you ever have anyone who's just fully committed to using that platform, send them my way. And likewise, I have clients and customers who come to me who might have an existing website on WordPress or Shopify. And I just kind of say, look, I'm sorry, I don't deal with that platform, but I'm happy to refer you on. So be that person that you can gather referrals from other designers by being a little bit more visible in front of your peers. And really, like, the way to do that is to attend, networking events that are, live events like Circle Day, get into online platforms or industry associations that are just about that support for fellow designers. And that can become a real resource for ongoing work for you. All right, number 3 is be more social in real life. I think probably the COVID years dampened our enthusiasm for getting together, but certainly it's something that I've always felt across my career has been really, really beneficial. I've had so many career opportunities just spring from going to an industry event or volunteering at something. I think that visibility and those connections are really extra strong when you meet people in real life. And I know it's hard sometimes, but the effort is totally worth it. In terms of volunteering, I think that can be a really powerful way to show that you're committed to something, showing up, being professional, and really just engaging with people like human beings, talking about what you do in your business. You never know who's kind of filing that information away for a potential project in the future. The other thing that I think is really powerful in terms of real life events is giving talks and presentations if you're so inclined. That can, of course, when you're up on stage, can do wonders for your visibility. Even online platforms like this are perfect. It's a little bit, less stressful when you're not in a crowd of people and seeing all of those faces stare at you. I can't tell you how nice it is not to see the 60 of you staring right at me right now. But certainly in terms of asserting, your expertise as a specialist, or even just becoming someone who's kind of seen as a community leader in a niche, can really help with your visibility and for people to really remember, I remember someone I saw at a presentation who talked about Squarespace websites. I'll give you their details. It helps with that word of mouth. If someone has had a really positive experience with you in real life, they can start to do that marketing for you. All right. Pinterest is a really interesting one. And if you're not already using Pinterest for your business, I highly recommend getting started. Of course, it has some qualities of a social media website, but in reality, it's really a visual search engine. And interestingly, there are actually roughly the same amount of women in Australia using Pinterest as they are using Instagram. So it's kind of a sleeping giant in terms of visibility and how people research and can find your business. So it's especially useful, I think, if you create a lot of content for your website, like a blog, for example. Many of you probably have accessed information for building Squarespace websites, be it coding or tutorials, that kind of thing, through Pinterest funnels. But I think certainly if you're active on social media for your business, there's definitely ways that you can repurpose that content for Pinterest and have it become more of an evergreen traffic source to your website or to any kind of call to action that you want. So you might want to start building your mailing list through offering, a lead magnet, and that is a really great place to start to promote that. I'll actually pop into the chat. So Creative Minds recently launched in collaboration with Angela Dalton and Renee Baker of Make Good Things Happen, a guide to using Pinterest for self-employed people. It's really, really helpful. So I'll pop that in the chat now and you can check that out. It's kind of a step-by-step on how to set your business up on Pinterest, particularly if you're a smaller operator, a self-employed person doing services or products. All right, last thing, self-initiated projects. Not only are they super fun, you can always, you can create something you've always wanted to create that perhaps clients never ask you to do, but they can also be really great for self-promotion. So I've had so many clients of mine can be traced back to different projects I've done just for my own satisfaction over the years. And also many of those projects have overall contributed to my SEO, just from being talked about in other places online and that kind of thing. So some of the self-initiated projects I've done is I've organized events and kind of run community groups. I've self-published books, of course. I've done talks and workshops, collaborations with different people, and I have a newsletter that's not necessarily related to my graphic design work at all. I even had a podcast for a while. So it's one of those things where I think self-initiated projects can be awesome, particularly if you're really keen to start showing off some different kind of experimental work or styles of work that you really want to get into, or something potentially for a client category that you want to look into pursuing a little bit more. Those self-initiated projects, if you start to promote those separately to your business or linking into your business some way, they can be a really powerful way to take the focus off you just sort of talking on and on about here's what I can do for you, and talking about something a little bit more abstract that eventually leads people back to you. So I will kind of say, with self-initiated projects, they don't necessarily always have to be a revenue stream. Certainly they can, and definitely, my experience with having Creative Minds for almost 10 years, that is definitely a small part of my overall revenue. But in reality, it's very much a client lead generating project as well. Both for website design and general graphic design, but also my book design clients, because I do have that experience with self-publishing that then I can really charge more for. I have more value than your average book designer, having gone through that process myself. So I will say that I haven't done all of these things that I've mentioned for my own business in terms of self-promotion all at once. I definitely play the long game, but overall, lots of little things add up. If you're starting to gather reviews, you're also sort of, attending events here and there, even little things like adjusting your email signature. All of these little things can add up to build your reputation, to build that trust and likability in yourself as a service provider. And then, after years, and it will take years in some respects, just things become easier in terms of choosing the clients that you want to work with, finding that your ideal customer and client starts coming to you, and that you genuinely like working with those people as well. That visibility over time also goes a long way to justifying your prices, justifying increasing in prices or specialization, and ultimately you're creating more value for your clients. So I do cover a lot more in the book, of course. There is 33 ways that I talk about that you can self-promote without social media. And as I mentioned, this book is really about the practical stuff. It's got lots of workbook style activities and checklists and prompts, because it's one thing for me to tell you, all the things you could and should be doing to get more clients. But it's quite another to feel motivated and really prepared to get started. So that's how I designed the book, to really bridge that gap between knowing what you should be doing and then actually getting started and getting excited about promoting your business in different ways. It is available via my website, creativeminds.hq.com. It's also on Amazon. If you're not in Australia, I would definitely recommend looking at Amazon or one of my stockists, as they will post internationally. And it is at a lot of Australian bookstores and starting to get into libraries as well. Thank you. Woo! That was a lot of talking.
Thanks so much, Tess. I think we had a couple of questions. There was one from Liz. If you woke up tomorrow with no clients and no money in your bank account, how would you drum up website work that could potentially put money in your account by the end of the week? Oh, I love that question.
Interesting. This is where I think personal relationships really comes into play. So it's funny, as I suppose review my business every year or every 6 months and think about where I want it to go, I sort of look at all of the inquiries I've had over the last 6-12 months, and I think about who I've really connected with, perhaps on email or at events and that kind of thing. And part of me has a little group of people that are like my insurance policy. So for exactly that reason, that, for some reason, there's just been no knocks at the door for, a couple of weeks, that I can reach out to people. And I suppose that reputation and trust that you start to build with people because you've met them in person, because you've written this book, that can really go a long way. That if you felt like, yeah, you know, you really did need to ask and say, hey, look, I'm looking for some more projects at the moment, you know, if you have anything available, let me know. I will share a kind of personal story. So a couple of years ago, I was a young mum. I had little kids. It's just a really busy time when you've got little kids. I wasn't putting the effort into marketing my business as much as I should have been. And I really felt like it was time to get a side stable or a consistent part-time role that I could rely on for that consistent income whilst I was also doing my freelance work. I found a perfect role in a small business, a business that I, really already admired. But I knew it was going to be pretty competitive. This was a business that I'm sure a lot of people would have wanted to work for. But I had coincidentally reached out to the founder of that business years ago as part of a group that I was organizing that did talks and networking events with people working in creative industries. So I emailed her directly and I said, hey, I don't know if you remember, we had some chats a few years ago about this event, etc. I've seen this role and I'd be really interested in applying. And that kind of personal connection, no matter how tenuous it was, we hadn't actually ever met in person, but we had some emails back and forth through a side project that I run, got me the interview, and then ultimately potentially got me the job. So that was just one example that showed me the power of really personal connections being really strong in terms of, at the end of the day, we're just human beings talking to other human beings. But having, just that little in can really help you, I guess, skip ahead a few steps to try and, work on making things happen for your career.
Amazing. Thank you. And one last question from Laura. Tess, how soon after launch do you generally send out review requests?
Oh, that's a good question. So, sometimes the finishing up a website process can be a little slow. You might deem the website finished, send out your invoice, and then you might have like a help window, kind of a 14-day sort of support window after that. Usually when I feel like the client is like pretty happy, pretty set with taking the website over, and I've transferred over that ownership of the site, then I sort of say, hey, I'd love to add this project to my portfolio, and would you be happy to give them a review? I think generally you just want to get the vibe that they're really pleased and then send out the ask for the review. That would be the key thing for me.
Amazing. Well, I think that's all for questions, unless anyone else had any others.
Awesome.
So that kind of takes us to the end of the presentations. Thank you, everyone, so much. I think, you guys absolutely smashed it. And I think sounds like from the chat, everyone really enjoyed them. The next part of the session is our breakout session. So for everybody who's not a presenter and hasn't been able to sort of turn their camera and mics on, you'll actually have the opportunity to connect with each other. You can turn your mics on. So what we're going to do, there's sort of two steps here. So everyone who is an attendee, you should see on the left-hand side of your navigation, there should be a sessions button. I'm going to get you to click that in a second. Once you hit that, you'll see a number of different sessions. If you can just join the first, there's one that's called Australia New Zealand Meetup. Just join that one and we'll join you in a few minutes there and we'll kind of give you the next instructions. So everyone can do that. Our speakers, you won't see that navigation, as I've just discovered. So for the speakers, what you guys just need to do is hit the return button. That's going to take you back to your main screen. And then you should see sessions on the left-hand panel. So once you see the sessions, you can then jump in there. If you have any issues, just send me an email and I'll send you another link. But good luck. And I will stay sort of in this room for a couple of minutes in case anyone gets lost or anyone can't make their way there. But anyone that does, you should be greeted on the other end. So I'll see you in a second.